Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Through Review 256. Today we're going to talk about Dragon's Hoard, and this is I believe the inaugural release for Mortensen Games. Their first game. They had a Kickstarter for this game last year sometime. This is very much a filler game. Let's see what the box says. It says 25 to 45 minutes, that's about right. Plays 2 to 4 players, kind of a set collection game with a little bit of take that cards and nasty cards you can play on other players. Basically the theme of it is each player is a dragon, and they're sort of consuming these sheep sort of as their resource or their fuel, and then trying to go and grab treasures, capture princes and damsels and all kinds of good stuff, and send knights and wizards and all kinds of dastardly things to their competing dragons to collect the most treasure. So let's take a look at how it plays, and I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, so the main objective of the game is to get these treasure cards played. And you can see they've got some different style of cards here and different colors. Now, you can see the red bordered card here has got a red sheep on the back, and so the orange one here is going to have an orange sheep, and then that may be a treasure there as well. And you can see the number of points there, and then sort of the cost to play that. So to play this, 4-point jewels here, you need to discard 2 orange sheep and then any color sheep you want there. Whereas this card here is a red one, and this one will give you 3 points, and then you got to discard 1 red and then 2 of anything else. So on your turn, it's pretty simple. You get 4 cards to start the game, and then depending on the number of players, you're going to draw a certain number of cards out of here, usually 3. So you maybe draw this one, and then you can't look at the card on the other side until you're done drawing. So you'll refill the row here. You can draw off the top, so maybe I would do that one and then get this one here. So I drew my 3 cards. This goes into my hand, and then I can do basically 2 things. I can put down treasure or a layer, and I'll talk about layers here in a second. But this is kind of like your treasure action, and then you can play an action card. So you get to lay down treasure or a layer, or play an action here. Now, and play an action. So here we've got all the different kind of actions here, and some of these can be pretty mean. So if you play this angry mob here, and there's angry mobs in the different colors. The colors really got nothing to do with the action, other than you can also use this card to pay for maybe another blue treasure or something. So anyway, this action here is discard half. So all the other players have to discard half their cards rounded down. Now, if you have something negative played against you, you can play this battle here. It's a stop action. So if somebody plays that, then you can play the stop action. You don't have to discard half your cards. Everybody else does, unless they also play a stop action. Now there's also an unstoppable wizard here. Now if somebody had played the angry mob along with the unstoppable wizard as one action, then if you had a stop action, then it wouldn't do anything. Now you can't do, discard mob, somebody does a stop action, you go, oh, I have a wizard. That doesn't work. You got to play them both at the same time. Now that sounds pretty bad, but I'll explain that in a second here. The other actions that you can do is you actually skip a player, so you target a specific player and tell them to skip their turn. Again, that can be blocked unless somebody plays a wizard. The next action you can do is to steal 2, and that's just to steal 2 cards. You look at the back of the cards and take 2 of the colors that you like. And the last one is a positive action. This lets you draw 2 cards. Now these are all referenced here on the back of these player reference cards. These come here. They're not really necessary after your first game, but just lists all the possible actions there. Now somebody's going to get dealt the start card, and then you're going to play until a certain number of treasures have been played out. So on my turn, I maybe will play this. I'll play this, and I'll draw 2. Now when you do the draw 2, they come off the top here. Otherwise, the beginning of your turn draw comes from anywhere. So maybe I'll play the draw 2, and then I'll play this jewel here in front of me, and that'll give me 4 points at the end of the game. I discard 2 orange cards and then any others. You're going to play in a 2 and 3 player game until there's 10 treasures in front of somebody. A 4 player game is 8, excuse me. And then you're going to play until everybody has an equal number of trips around the table. So whoever has the start card, if they played the 10th treasure in front of them, everybody else would get a turn. If the last player in turn order played, then nobody else would get a turn because everybody's had an equal number of turns. So what are the layers here? Now the layers, when you play them, they're free to play down, and what they are is they give you a little bit of a bonus here. So you can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So for 4 orange cards, I'll get a 10-point bonus. If I played this, had this jewel here, and that was all the orange ones I had at the end of the game, I'd get 4 points for the treasure card itself, plus I have 1 orange, so the layer is going to give me a bonus of 1 point. For example, I have this 7-point wishing tree. So this costs a little bit more to put out, but if I had that out here, now I have 11 points in treasure, and now since I have 2 oranges, I have got 3 bonus points. So you don't count the layers at the end of the game, or to figure out the end of the game. You just count the treasures. So you add up all the points, whoever has the most points is the winner. And that's pretty much the whole game. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. Let's just address one thing off the bat here. This game has cards that make you skip other players' turns. Normally, that would make me like not even want to look at the game. But it actually works pretty good in this game. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that a player cannot be skipped multiple times. So if I play a skip turn on Billy, and then Joey over here plays a skip turn on Billy, he can't do that. You get to have your turn, at least once every other trip around the board. So you can't just like triple up on a guy. The other thing to think about is when you play the skip turn or the steal cards or something, that's actually a resource you're giving up. Because, if you play the blue one and you need the blue card to play the blue treasure, well, you're just hosing yourself. And to play the unstoppable, that's going to toss you 2 resources. But you kind of want to play the unstoppable, because if you play a skip turn or steal 2 cards, the other guy's, okay, I have the counter, the stop battle. Well, that you just wasted your thing. Yeah, they wasted a card, but, So those are interesting because the game has an interesting kind of pace to it. So really what you're trying to do is get a couple layers out. And I should say in the 3 and 4 player game, you can only have a certain number of layers. It's I'm having a brain fart, but it's 3 in the 3 player game. I can't remember what it is in the 4 player game. You can only have a certain number of layers out. You can't have duplicate. You can have 2 yellows are out, but you try to get the layers out, and then of course get the treasures to go out with it. So there's an interesting kind of thing to kind of get the big treasures out, but then you kind of have to let your hand grow, so you become more of a target. So you try to keep, those little stop battles in there, or you can kind of go like the small game and get, little ones out and just keep your hand small so you're not much of a target. But if you get those layers out, then you're going to get those bonus points there. So you can kind of play with the pace of the game in an interesting way. The other thing that's really cool about it, and it kind of reminds me of Traders of Carthage, or even, for some reason like Jaipur, but not really. But the Traders of Carthage, where you can see the different colors that are coming out, because you can grab, from that row and then the top of the deck. And I see, well, you've got a blue layer out, and you've already got a blue treasure in there. Maybe you've got 2 blue cards in your hand. And well, I should probably take the blue card so that you don't just automatically get an easy play. But maybe I'm focused on red, so I need to take the red card that's out there. And you want to be careful about leaving a display full of blue cards. So you have a blue card on top and all blues in the row, or whatever color it might be. Then you're handing the next player a smorgasbord of easy plays. So you just grab all 3 blue ones in the middle, like, oh, there's a card I can immediately play for 5 points, or however many points it is. So there's some playing with that. It almost feels like a little bit of a market kind of thing, even though your dragons flying around, causing havoc and stealing treasure and stuff. There's that. I should say the art on the cards, I love the sheep. Some of the sheep on there are just hilarious. They look like they're like little sly things, or just kind of, dumb, so to speak. Like some of the one color sheep, I think it's the purple one. They look like the stupidest animal on the earth. But the art on the other side, on the princes and the damsels and the wizards and all that stuff, really, really well done. Like, just amazing. And to me, that almost kind of sells the game, because the game's pretty good. Let's just take a step back here. It's not like the greatest game ever. It's really fun. But the art kind of takes it to that next level. It's kind of like watching a movie. The movie's like okay, but they have a really good score or soundtrack, maybe Star Wars. And that just takes it into the stratosphere with the great music and everything. So this kind of does that with the art. It's just really, really good. It's just a pleasure to play. And it is kind of themey, because it's, you're collecting treasure and trying to be the best guy collecting treasure. But then all of the cards that are attacking people, it's like the knights make you skip a turn, and the wizards make the knight unstoppable. So you're like, hey, you go over there and mess with the Billy Dragon over there, and go invade his little lair and go on your little quest there, Mr. Knight, and harass him. And then you've got the other different things like that. So it is kind of you kind of feel like everybody's a big dragon stealing treasure, and then you're sort of, you have like a competition with your other dragon friends that you're trying to get the most treasure, and you send things to harass them and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. It's got like sort of feel to it, with it's a set collecting, and then it's got like Ameritrash, screw you cards and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a cool little game. And the other thing I should say, I played it 2, 3, and 4 player now. It's really good at every single player count. I can't tell you which player count I like best. That all is good. The way it balances, it changes the number of cards you draw, and the number of layers you can have out, and different things like that. But just those subtle little tweaks balances the game out, and it makes it really good at all the player counts. And with the higher player counts, I should say, you have a little bit of table talk kind of thing happening, or kind of bash the leader more. But you don't necessarily want to do that, because it's like, okay, well, why don't you play a skip turn on him? Well, he's like, well, why don't you play it? Because I give up my resource. So it has an interesting dynamic there of, you can't hammer somebody so much that it makes it unfun and munchkin-y or whatever. But there's a little bit of kind of dynamics there that happens with the game. And like I said, I could go over it again. The whole resource thing, you don't want to give up the resource. So anyway, plays good at all player counts, I think. And definitely a nice little game. I'm sure it's pretty cheap there. I don't know what it costs. It's probably like around, I'd say 10 to 15 bucks. So easy to pick up, and great art, fun. It's a good game. Thanks.